Hello, everyone. I'm Carla Martin, HNBA Director of Programs. Thank you so much for joining us for the first of three in our Post-BAR-tum webinar series. This program was inspired after years of working with law students and recent grads like Sabrina Milos, who bravely shared the emotional, mental, and physical toll of the bar exam. Their honesty reminded me of how important it is to create space for support during this journey. A special thank you to Dr. Jill Lynch Cruz for recommending tonight's incredible speaker and for her continued support of our community. And also thank you to Mia Batista, HNBA VP of Program Su Futuro, who immediately embraced this vision to uplift our recent graduates. With that, I'll turn it over to Mia to introduce our speaker, Executive Coach Sarah Santoyo. Mia, over to you.
Thank you, Carla. And again, thank you everyone for joining today. Very important topic, and we're so excited to kick this off. As Carla mentioned, my name is Mia Batista. I am the VP of Programs, Su Futuro. I'm also a partner here at CIFARF in the Labor and Employment Group. And I'm so excited today. We are, without words here, excited to introduce our speaker, Sarah Santoyo. Sarah is a certified executive coach, licensed attorney, and someone who's deeply passionate about helping future lawyers succeed both on the bar exam and in life. Life is hard, really, really hard. So we got to take it one day at a time. So Sarah works with first-gen law students, new attorneys, and rising professionals who are navigating the very high-pressure environments and learning how to lead with confidence while still staying true to who you are, because you have to stay true to yourself. So very important. She's walked the path as a first-generation attorney who passed the California bar, and as you probably know, one of the hardest or the hardest bar to pass. And she passed it when it was at its highest. So Sarah knows exactly what major challenges you can face without a roadmap or built-in network, and still able to find a way forward. So with over a decade of experience in law and professional development, she brings deep expertise in bar mindset, stress resilience, and executive presence. Sarah is also a writer in residence for Miss JD and a frequent speaker at conferences and events, so be on the lookout, where she shares what it really takes to lead and succeed as a new lawyer. So let's really dive in here and learn from someone who's been there and now helps others get to the other side. Welcome, Sarah. We're so excited to have you with us today.
Thank
Pass it over to you.
Awesome. Thank you, Mia. Thank you, Carla. I am so excited to be here. I'm going to go ahead and let me know, Carla, when I can go ahead and share my screen.
You're ready.
I'm ready. Okay, here we go. Okay, guys, so again, the Hispanic National Bar Association, we're here to support you in this Post-BAR-tum series. This is the first of three. The first one being titled, You Don't Know What You Don't Know Yet. In other words, what it really takes to pass the bar exam. This is the insider information that I share with my students and that I want to share with you. Again, I want to just reiterate what Carla said and what Mia said. Thank you for being here. It takes effort to show up to something like this and give up your time. So I just want to acknowledge you for that. A lot of people, I think, are going to just fall back on what they know, and they're going to just fall back on old strategies. But to be honest, the bar exam is the kind of beast that you need new strategies and a different level of stamina to pass. So I want to commend you for being here, and I'm going to try to make the best use of your time so that you walk away with tremendous value and some huge insights. So let's dive in, because I want to be respectful of your time, knowing that you have a bar exam to study for. Let's go over the agenda. So what we're going to talk about today, first of all, is what actually gets in the way of passing the bar exam. It's not typically what people talk about, so I want to give you some insight on that. Next, we're going to talk about the 3 things that you must know in order to pass, and then how to start now, because some of you are probably deep into studying. Some of you are probably just dipping your toes into studying, and that's okay. And some of you may not have started studying quite yet, and that's okay too. My goal is to give you some very actionable strategies at the end of the webinar so that by the end of the webinar, you know exactly where to start. So let's dive in. First, I'm going to give you some background on my story so that you know why I am uniquely qualified to teach on this subject. Two pictures, one of me during bar prep and one during my swearing in ceremony. So two very different realities, right? And you're probably familiar with, you know, studying for finals, starting to study for the bar exam, what it's like to be like deep in it. That was me when I was deep in it.
Sorry to interrupt, Sarah. We can't see your presentation.
Oh, you can't.
No. Let me see.
Let me see here. Let me try again. Can you see now?
It started, and yes.
Okay, okay.
Now we see the full screen, so including the slides on the side.
Okay, okay. Can you guys see?
Yep, there you go. Thank you so much.
Yes, okay. Can you guys see my pictures now?
Yay!
Yes, okay. So me's bar prep and me during swearing in ceremony. Again, so this is me in the thick of it. And so you're gonna see, it looks like it's daylight in that picture. It's actually like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning because I asked my husband to install fluorescent lighting so that I could trick my brain into thinking that it was daytime so that I could study for longer. But it was just one of those days where you guys know when you're so exhausted that it doesn't matter like how loud it is or how bright it is, you just want to nap and you just like can crawl under your desk or wherever and just knock out. That was me. And that's going to be your reality pretty soon. But then I wanted to share the picture of me in my swearing in ceremony because there is light at the end of the tunnel. And I had a ton of challenges during bar prep, just lots of labels that I had to overcome, cultural challenges. Again, the bar exam was at its height as far as the passing standard in California. But if I could pass with all of my challenges, so can you. So, you know, you can picture yourself in your swearing in ceremony. It's going to be one of the happiest days of your life. Your family members are going to be there. You know, your biggest supporters are going to be there. And like, as you can see, me and my daughter, we are like smiling, huge smiles, so big you can't even see our eyes because we're so happy. So there's light at the end of the tunnel. What I want to share is a story with you because during bar prep, there was a moment where I just kind of broke down and I had just dropped off my daughter at daycare and she was screaming and crying. She didn't want to go to daycare. I didn't want to drop her off, but I had to study because I had a bar exam to pass. I went back to my office and I was just overwhelmed with emotion and I started thinking all these negative thoughts and I started spiraling. And I just thought like, God, why is this so hard? Why is it so hard for me to pass the bar exam? And I had this moment of like divine intervention where, you know, God blessed me with this intervention and I realized how self-absorbed I was being, not selfish in any way, but just how much I was focusing on myself and my circumstances. And I realized that that was not going to help me. That was not going to serve me at all. Because embracing this victim mentality of it's so hard and why is it so hard for me? What I was doing is I was just handing over my power to my circumstances. And that was not going to help me pass the bar exam. So that was the moment where I said no mas. And that's where I decided to take full ownership of my bar prep process and how I showed up to studying. And I also promised myself that day that I was going to figure out how to pass the bar exam. I was also going to help other students pass the bar exam. And that's why I'm here today. And that's why I focus part of my coaching practice on helping students pass the bar exam because it's really personal for me. I know how hard it could be. So the next thing I want to share with you is I want to also shift your perspective on the bar exam, on the bar prep process. I think like up to now, the old paradigm has been, you know, cram for a couple of months and just push through it, just get through it with, you know, caffeine and adrenaline and fear. And then when it happens, survive it and just forget it ever happened. But I don't think that that's the best way to approach the bar exam. I really feel like the bar exam could be this opportunity where you can show up and learn a new set of skills, learn how to show up fully focused, how to show up your cognitive best. And that's only going to prepare you for when you enter the field of law. It's going to prepare you to become the best attorney you can be standing in your full power. So instead of thinking of the bar exam as like, why is this happening to me? Or, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, approaching bar prep like this is an opportunity for me to show up in my full power, because the way you prepare for the bar exam is the way that you show up to practice law as a young attorney. So why not make the most out of the situation and really use it to become that next level attorney, that next level version of yourself? So I want to go over some bar exam myths. These are myths that most students that come to me or that I talk to about the bar exam, this is what they believe. One is that in order to pass, I need to have gone through the perfect bar prep program, or I need to have the perfect study aids, the perfect flashcards, the perfect question data bank. I need to have the perfect study environment. I need to have gone to the best law school, I've gotten like the top grades. And that's not true. A lot of students think that they need everything externally perfect so that they can pass the bar. But we know that's not true, because there are some students who have all of these things and they do not pass the bar exam. But there are some students who have none of these things and yet they pass the bar exam. And why is that? Because passing the bar exam is not a function of the external resources, it's a function of your internal resources. So your mindset, your perspective, how you come to study for bar prep, it's how you show up that determines whether you pass or not. But that's the best news, because a lot of times we can't control external circumstances, we can't control external resources, but we can always control our internal resources, right? We can always control how we show up, how we react to the circumstances. So I want to share with you some common things, some common thoughts that students have during the bar prep process. There's too much to do and not enough time. I can't focus. There are too many distractions. Work is distracting me. My family is distracting me. I'm not as smart as everyone else. I'm afraid to disappoint my professors, my partner, my children. I don't want to fail. People are going to judge me. Bar prep is just so hard. These are very common thoughts. And so if you're having any of these thoughts or all of these thoughts, it's okay. It's normal. All of us experience these types of thoughts when we're preparing for the bar exam. It doesn't matter, what law school you went to. It doesn't matter how well you did in law school. We all share these common fears and doubts during bar prep. It's totally normal. But let me ask you, when you're having those types of thoughts, how do you think that you're feeling? When you're having the type of thought like, this is too much, this is, I can't do this, this is overwhelming, it causes really heavy feelings. So a lot of common feelings that students have that come to me with is, I'm feeling overwhelmed, I'm feeling stressed, I'm feeling anxious, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling despair, I'm feeling lonely. Lots of heavy feelings during bar prep. So how do you think that you're showing up to bar study if you're having those thoughts or feeling those feelings like in a constant loop during bar prep? And I wanted to give you an example of a student that I recently coached. We'll call her Alexis. And she had this thought of, there's just too much to do and not enough time. And honestly, this is a very common thought that students have. So when she's thinking there's too much to do and not enough time, there's this feeling of overwhelm, right? And then the actions that come from that feeling of overwhelm are she procrastinates, she puts her studying off, or she will avoid the uncomfortable feeling by doing something else, cleaning or going on social media or watching TV. The actions that she does not take from this feeling of overwhelm are she doesn't study and she does not retain any information if she does study. She just can't focus. And so the result of thinking there's too much to do and not enough time is that she doesn't make the best use of the time that she does have. And so she ends up self-sabotaging. And this is so common during bar prep. This happens constantly during bar prep. And students don't even realize that it's happening because it's this constant, like almost like a subconscious loop of negative thoughts and then creating the reality of the thought that you're thinking. And so why am I sharing this with you? Because we have so many negative thoughts during bar prep. It literally affects our brain and it prevents us from showing up at our cognitive best. When we're in panic mode, when we're in anxiety mode, we're in that fight, flight, or freeze state. and our brain shuts down. Our executive functions shut down. So precisely what we need to show up at our best, like having full focus or having working memory working at its best, that's shut down. And we cannot fully be present. We certainly can't retain information. So if there's a rule of law that I could come up with to share with you, it would be this. When negative emotions are high, your intelligence is low. And that is what I think is slightly sabotaging so many highly capable and super smart students without them even knowing it. And something that I want to share with you is that this happens especially when you're highly invested in the results of your exam. So research by a researcher, her name is Sean Baylock, she wrote a book called Choke. Her research showed that when students care most about the domain that they're performing in, when the stakes are high and they care the most, that's when students are most likely to choke and underperform. Like, yikes, because that's all students during the bar exam, right? Like we all want to do really well because the stakes are so high. We're so invested in this exam. And so that's when you're most likely to choke. So realizing that a lot of times the internal saboteur is actually our own mindset, our own thoughts, our own fears. But having the awareness and knowing that so that you can kind of stop the choke and prevent the choke and set yourself up for success so that you have the right headspace, right? Because I don't want you to think that I'm trying to tell you, well, you just need to think positively in order to pass the bar exam. That's not enough. I mean, it'll help you to think positively, of course, but that's not enough. What you need to do is you need to be in the right headspace in order for you to perform your best at every study session leading up to your bar exam. So you need to help yourself be in the zone where you're feeling neutral, feeling grounded, and you feel like you can reach your full focus. That's the goal during every study session leading up to the bar exam. So it's almost like you can think of yourself as an Olympic athlete that's been training, and the bar exam is your Olympic event, right? That's where you get to showcase your work and show off everything that you've been learning and preparing for these past few years. But in order to do that, you need to put in the work and prepare every study session as best as you can up until that moment. I love this quote from football coach Bill Walsh, which is, if you put in the work during training, the score takes care of itself on game day. That's the attitude and the mindset to come in with on the bar exam. If you do the work during bar prep, on the exam, you're going to feel so competent. You're going to feel, a lot of students describe this to me. They say, I was on fire, Sarah. Like I felt like I was on fire on the exam, where you're just like flooding your essay questions and your MPE questions with all the knowledge that you have built upon during bar prep. So what do you need to do in order to do that? Two simple things. One is manage your mind so that you can take the kinds of actions that you need to take to show up at your cognitive best during your study sessions. How do you do that? So now that you know what's sabotaging students and what's preventing students to show up at their best and what could prevent you from showing up at your best, which is all that negativity and the negative thoughts. Now I'm going to talk about the steps that you need to take in order to actually pass the bar exam, besides managing your mind. So the first is you need to commit. The second is you need to go pro. And the third is you need to get the right kind of help. Let's dive into each one so I can explain exactly what I mean. The first one is commit. So I first heard this saying at an orientation in law school where they said, for an egg and bacon breakfast, the chicken is involved, but the pig is committed. And I didn't really get it until bar prep. Because during bar prep, you have to think about, do I really want to pass the bar exam, or am I actually really committed to passing the bar exam? What am I willing to do and not do in order to pass? What are you willing to cut from your life? Are you willing to cut time with family? Are you willing to cut out workouts? Are you willing to cut out, scrolling social media? What is it that you're willing to cut from your life? It could be the simple pleasures. It could be, procrastination. Those things that you know that are taking up your time are the things that you need to cut from your life, right? I'm going to give you an example. when I was, well, before I took the bar exam a year before, my friend was preparing for the bar exam. She was going to take it that July, and I ran into her in the library, and she looked super frazzled. I asked her how it was going, and she said, Sarah, like, I don't even have time to put sugar in my coffee. And at the time, I didn't believe her because I thought, putting sugar in your coffee, that literally takes 2 seconds, right? Like pour and then stir. But of course, when it came my turn to prepare for the bar exam, I remember one morning I was in a hurry. I was trying to get my daughter ready, trying to get out so that I could start my studies day on time so I could do my daily deliverables, making my coffee. And I asked myself, do I really need sugar? And the answer was, nope, I don't need sugar. I just need caffeine. So I just took my black coffee and I got out the door. And that's when I realized that I was the pig. I was all in. I was fully committed, right? And I'm going to give you another example because really to pass the bar exam, it takes that soldier's mindset where the soldier is just fully focused on the mission, because a soldier cannot be thinking about anything else except for the execution of the mission. You can't be thinking about, family obligations or like the laundry or, answering a group chat. Like, you just have to focus on the mission. Otherwise, you jeopardize the mission. So to give you another personal example, during bar prep, early bar prep, I was trying to be super mom. I was trying to be a machine with studying. I was trying to do all the things. And one day, I asked my husband like what he had fed my daughter, and he said, "Oh, I fed her fish." And it didn't make sense because we did not have fish in the fridge. So I prodded more, and it turns out that he had fed her fish crackers for lunch, and I got really upset. And it took a lot of my headspace, and I lost a few hours of studying that day because I was so upset. And my husband told me something that I'll always remember. He said, in Spanish, he said, "Te tienes que desobligar," which in English, there's no literal translation, but it's more or less like you need to detach from your obligations. And that hit me like a bucket of icy water because I realized he was right. Like, I needed to just focus on my mission. I needed to set boundaries and respect them, like more myself than anybody else. And in the Hispanic culture, we have family roles, right? We have this really strong sense of obligation to take care of our family, take care of our tribe. For me, that was really hard to do at first, was to set those boundaries because of my culture, the way I was raised. But I realized that in order for me to pass the bar exam, I needed to set those boundaries. And so I had to reframe. Instead of thinking that I was just leaving my daughter and I wasn't taking care of her, I had to remind myself that I was investing in her. I was investing in our future. And so reframing, setting those boundaries to, you're not abandoning your roles, you're not abandoning your responsibilities, you're actually investing in your future and their future, because this isn't just about passing the bar exam, this is about generational impact, right? So the more fully committed you are from the get-go, the likelier it is that you will pass this exam and never have to take it again. So commitment is first and foremost, and it's step one. The second step is to go pro. What does that mean? Well, during bar prep, you're going from a law student to a licensed attorney that's going to navigate the humans through our justice system, through really challenging times, right? So in order to do that, you need to be at your best. In a few months, once you pass the bar exam, you're going to take an oath to serve at your highest capacity, which is so honorable. Now, the bar exam, we know it's not a perfect gauge of, what kind of attorneys we're going to be, or, it's really not a good gauge of what we're going to do in the practice of law. But what the bar exam does do is it shows us a few things. It filters out students that can show an elite work ethic, that can show a commitment to a cause above everything else, and that can consistently show courage. Bar exam does do that. And so by going pro, it's changing your mindset, shifting your perspective to, this is my opportunity for me to show up at my best and really start transitioning and developing myself into the type of attorney that I want to be, right? So using it as a transformational process almost. Now, there are some skills and habits that you need to lock down in order to pass the bar exam, and I'm going to go over them. These are not new. These are things that you've already been honing in law school. Like, in order to successfully graduate from law school, you had to already develop some of these. And for bar preparation, you just need to hone in on these a little bit more. You might have to tweak these so that you have more focus, but this is what they are. So the skills, you need deep focus. You need to know how to get into a deeply focused state where like you're not multitasking, you're just in your zone. And I know you've done that during law school. This is going to be where the most important learning is going to take place, because that flow state, that state where you're fully in it, you're fully cognitively locked in, that's where the best learning happens, right? That's where you make those connections, you have those aha moments. And that's where it almost starts to become fun and like a game. And it changes from something really heavy and draining to, oh, this is a puzzle. Like, I know how to figure this out. And you start to really gain momentum. So knowing how to get into a deeply focused state. The next is mind management, knowing how to manage your mind, knowing how to catch those thoughts and just bringing awareness to the negative thoughts that are trying to push you back or pull you down. Just being able to catch those and then shift your mindset. Not so that you'll be 100% positive all the time, no, but it's more like trying to get to a neutral state so that, again, you can come at it at your cognitive best. The other skill is setting boundaries. Coming back to my example, it's so important for you to set boundaries for others, but also for yourself, so that you're respecting your study time. If you're not sure how to set boundaries or even what boundaries would look like, I wrote a blog post for Miss JD all about this. So we will link to that blog post at the end of the webinar. So habits, the 3 habits that you need are your study rituals and routines. That is imperative. As soon as you can, start thinking about what study routine and rituals you're going to embrace. 3 specifically. The first one is your morning routine. What time are you going to get up? What time are you going to start studying? Your afternoon routine, like what time are you going to stop and take a break and have lunch? And what time are you going to get back into it? And then your evening routine. What time are you going to stop studying? What time are you going to go to sleep? So that you can get really good sleep and like enough hours for you to show up really alert and energetic the next day. That's going to help you kind of put your brain into autopilot instead of having to experience so much friction and trying to pull yourself together every day. If you have a study routine and your study rituals, it's just going to come way more naturally to you. So figuring out what those are. The next is engaging in active learning. So I'm sure you've done this throughout law school, but this is even more important during bar prep. Bar prep is not about studying passively. It is not about just watching lectures or listening to them audibly. Of course that helps, but that's not enough. You need to be in the ring. You need to be engaging in, writing out the essays, seeing what your mistakes were with MBE questions and why, quizzing yourself, teaching the concepts to other people, even if it's your kid or your partner or a friend or even like your fur babies. I read this really good book on the best learning practices called Make It Stick. And the authors summarized the best type of learning, how it happens. And they said, it's not about what goes in, rather it's about what comes out. So how you develop that learning and being able to teach that learning and being able to write that learning, what you've learned. So active learning. The other habit is celebrating your wins. This is such a crucial habit to make. I teach this to my students. It's so important because the truth is that bar prep is physically hard. It's hard to sit and study for hours on end during the day. It's hard for your brain. You'll be able to do it. Eventually you will learn, you'll be able to wrangle your brain to study many hours during the day, but it's hard at first. And so how can you incentivize it for your brain? By celebrating even the tiniest of wins. Like if you show up to study one day when it was really hard to show up, celebrate that. If you finish all your daily deliverables, celebrate that. If you were able to do 25 MBEs on a certain day instead of just 20, celebrate that. Really take the time to pause and celebrate yourself. That's going to help your brain. And it's also going to help your soul so that you can just know that you've got your own back and it's going to give you momentum to keep on going. How do you do that? One good thing is there's an author who wrote a book called Tiny Habits, and he encourages you to put your hands up in the air and literally say, I'm awesome. So when you do something during bar prep that makes you proud, you could put your hands up and say, I'm awesome. If you're in public and you don't want to do that, you could just put your hand over your heart and say, good job, like you did that. I'm proud of you. And really feel those feelings of being proud of yourself. Those are simple things you can do to celebrate yourself. So those are the skills and the habits that you need. Let's get into number 3, which is securing your dream team, your support system. So I've noticed that healthy support system for bar prep is kind of like setting up a tent at the beach on a windy day. The more poles that you have, the more pillars that you have holding up this tent, the more likely that it's going to stay strong, even if it's really windy, right? And so at least the 3 pillars that you need, I've noticed, are these 3 support systems. Number 1 is an expert in law. This is a person who is very familiar with the substantive law and will literally read your essays or will help you with your MBE approach. This is typically a law professor or a bar tutor if you can afford to hire them. But this is somebody who will give you detailed feedback so that you know your tactics and your strategies. The other is an advisor, a mentor, or a coach. This is somebody who's kind of like the bar exam Sherpa for you. They've been there, they've walked that terrain, they know how to guide you. They probably understand your unique challenges as a first-generation attorney or a non-traditional law school student. It's somebody who can teach you skills, but also, most importantly, will hold you accountable to your goals on maybe a weekly check-in or bi-monthly check-in, and somebody who can support and encourage you. With the expert in law and the advisor, a lot of times it's about just being brave and just seeking out help, getting out of your comfort zone and really just taking the jump and asking people for help. It really just takes a lot of courage to do that, but it's super important. And then the last support system is your inner circle, your family, your friends, your ride or dies, those people who are going to support you no matter what your mood, no matter what your results are. They're going to remind you that you are a beloved human being, irrespective of this test. So somebody soft to land on, right? This is super crucial. And also somebody who's going to help you maintain that perspective and keep you grounded, because you're going to want to be in your bar prep bubble. You're going to want to eat and sleep and, just everything is about bar prep. But you need somebody to remind you that life is more than just bar prep. And it's okay to, have fun, go for a walk, go have some dinner, or take your fur babies for a walk. So super important to have that source of unconditional love and support. Now, I want to get into what you can do today, starting today, to make sure that you pass the bar exam. And I'm hoping these things will help you get more momentum, so you know exactly what to do once you jump off of this webinar. The first thing that you can do is commit and literally pull out your calendar, whether it's like a hard calendar or a digital calendar. After the webinar, calendar in a time. Set aside about an hour where you can just get into that mental space where you will just do, think about what you need, the resources that you need, the help that you need to tap into. You can think about your how you're going to get into your flow state, who you're going to seek for support. So calendar in an hour and then make the internal decision, just that internal switch, that you are going to pass this exam by any means necessary, and think about what that's going to take. So calendaring in an hour to do that. During that time, also write down your why. Literally write down your why. So important. Why did you even want to become a lawyer? Why are you taking this exam? Why do you want to be licensed? This might be because you want to be a role model to your children. You want to be a luminary in your community. You want financial sovereignty. Whatever it is, write down your why. And then the other thing is write down your top 3 values. That might be personal growth, it might be justice, it might be perseverance. Whatever it is that you value, write them down. Because once you're in the thick of it, and once it gets really challenging, coming back to your why, coming back to your values will always help anchor you and ground you and remind you of why you're even doing this in the first place. So do that. The second thing you can do starting today is start managing your mind. We could do a whole webinar on how to manage your mind, but here's what I can offer you today is whenever you catch yourself having a negative thought or whenever you catch yourself spiraling, ask yourself, is that thought really true? And is it useful? Think of yourself on the other side of bar exam success. Like there's a river between where you are and bar exam success, right? On the other side of that river is everything that you want in life, all of the goals. But in order to get across that river, you need a vessel, and your thoughts are that vessel. The negative thoughts are like rinky-dinky boats that have holes in them, and they are not going to serve their purpose. It's going to take you a long time, and you may not even get to the other side with those negative thoughts. But if you actually choose more neutral thoughts, more useful thoughts, and get on a better boat, a more useful boat, a nice sturdy boat, those thoughts will help you get to the other side. So whenever you catch yourself having a not useful thought, remember to choose a thought that will support your focus instead of your fear. The next thing you can start to do today is know how to get into that indistractable state. So create a focus flow chart for yourself. Think about all the steps that you need to take to get into your flow state. You probably have a sense because you've been in law school for 3 years, so you kind of know what it takes to get into your zone. You know, what kind of environment do you need to be in? What kind of lighting do you need? Is there a special scent that helps you get into that flow state? Do you need a lucky pen? Write that down and write down the steps that will get you into that flow state. I wrote mine down during bar prep and I literally still have it on my desk and I look at it every day so that I can hack into my flow state. So that's something else you can do. Another thing you can do starting today is embrace a growth mindset. I'll be honest with you, and I know that it typically takes 200 to 300 hours of studying to prepare for the bar exam. Like that's a lot. The bar exam is a beast, that's honest. But it starts with diving in. It starts with the first step, right? And how are you going to do that without being miserable? It's literally embracing a growth mindset. Looking at this journey, this challenge, instead of thinking, why me? Embracing it with a try me attitude. You've done much harder things in life. Like 200 and 300 hours, you've done way more studying than that during law school. You put in hundreds of hours. So you can do this, and embracing that growth mindset of my brain can grow, I can do hard things. The more I do them, the more reps that I put in, the stronger I'm going to get. It really is just putting in the reps and facing your failures and your challenges through a lens of growth. Like, how is this going to make me better? But it is important to start now and respect how much study time you're going to need. And it's okay if you need to start slow. I started, I remember, with 5 MBEs a day because that's all I could tolerate at the beginning. But that's okay. That's how I started. And then eventually I got to like over 50 MBEs a day, but it started off really slow. The key is to dive in now and dive in before you feel like you're ready. Just dive in and do the thing. The other thing is, oh, and if you're curious about a growth mindset and you know what exactly that is and how exactly to do it, I wrote a blog post again, so we will link that in the chat later. The other thing is get your support system in lockdown right now. So think about who's going to be on your dream team and then just ask them for help. Be brave, make the ask, you know, and don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed and don't feel guilty. I promise there are so many people who want to help you. There are so many people who are invested in your success. They want you to succeed. And so don't be shy, just make the ask, get some help, and don't feel guilty about it. Lean in with whatever help people want to give you, whether that's, you know, helping you with meals or helping you with babysitting or helping you walk your pets, whatever it is. Take the help, because once you have the headspace and the resources, you're going to pay it forward. So the last thing I want you to do is just write down right now. Like starting today, I commit to blank in order to pass the bar exam. What is that for you? You know, think about it, take a moment, write it down. I'm going to give you a minute or so. And then my last call to action to you is, just dive in fully, get this done, finish this and be the one who passes. We're here to support you, the HNBA. This is our first in the series, but we'll be here next month to support you in case you have questions or you need support. We will be here for you. I'm cheering you on and best of luck. So with that, I'll go ahead and stop share. If you have any questions, of course, you can feel free to email me. This is my website, sarahsantoyo.com. You can reach me via LinkedIn or email me. Be happy to answer any questions at hello@sarahsantoyo.com. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat and I'd be happy to answer.
I did have one question, and it's, can you describe a client you have worked with and their flowchart?
Yeah, yes. So I'll give you an example. So one of the flowcharts that we came up with for a student was literally the acronym FOCUS. So FOCUS. So focus being, free your mind of distractions. That was clearing her desk. She could not tolerate any clutter on her desk. So freeing your mind of distractions, opening your mind for complete focus with just getting whatever thoughts were on your mind off of your mind by maybe like putting them on a paper, journaling them out real quick, or taking some deep breaths to just really open your mind to, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm going to start studying. The C was choosing focus over distraction and just really having the self-discipline of, okay, this is study time. So I'm just going to put my phone away, put my phone in my phone jail, or, put it behind me so I don't have access to it. The U was for using headphones. A lot of students I've noticed do really well with noise canceling headphones and also brown noise or white noise or orange noise. That seems to help students really lock into their focus state. And then the last letter for the acronym FOCUS was support yourself. Really supporting yourself by encouraging yourself, being kind to yourself, coming at it with this place of grace, not perfection and not trying to beat yourself up, asking yourself, like, am I trying my best in this moment with the resources that I have? If the answer is yes, praise yourself. And if the answer is no, then nudge yourself to operate at a little higher level, nudge yourself or encourage yourself to, try at it again or work a little harder. So that's an example of a focus flow chart. If you want an example of mine, if you want mine specifically, I'd be happy to share. You guys can email me at hello@sarahsantoyo.com, or you can reach out to me via LinkedIn and I'd be happy to share mine.
And then we have another comment in the chat. It says, you stated we should get good sleep. However, you also stated you were studying at 3 a.m. Can you share what your schedule looked like when you studied?
For sure, yes, yeah. I studied at 3 a.m. when I was in law school, and I learned that that was not the best for me during bar prep. Law school, I had night classes, and I had an hour commute each way, so I'd get home pretty late, and so I'd start my studying late, but I changed that for bar prep because I had, so there's a study that shows that students who start preparing early in the day are actually more successful at passing the bar exam on their first attempt than students who start later in the day. And that makes sense because by the end of the day, sometimes our cognitive juice is just drained. Now, this isn't everybody's reality. Some people have to work, I understand. So you do your best with what you have. But the earlier that you can start studying, the better. So I did change my study routine. And I actually started studying early in the morning. I actually started studying really early in the morning to gain momentum. So I would do MBE questions very early in the morning before my daughter would get up. And then once she got up, I stopped, I prepared everything that we needed to prepare to get out the door. And then I would sit down in my office like by 8 to 9 a.m. And then I would go on, like there's phases during bar prep, you're going to incrementally start studying more. You can't, well, I've noticed that students typically cannot study 10 hours a day, like from the get-go. It's just, you need to work up your stamina. And so at first I studied, I want to say maybe 4 to 6 hours a day. eventually I was able to study for longer until I was able to study. Once I was really close to passing the bar exam, I was able to study 10 hours a day. But that was just, the last couple of weeks. But I did make sure to get good sleep. And by good sleep, typically that's 6 to 8 hours for people. And that's just to give your brain the rest that it needs. A lot of times, connections and learning is solidified when you are sleeping. And so in order to really prime your brain for the best performance and learning, getting at least 6 to 8 hours of sleep is really crucial. I hope that answered your question.
And then I have one more question so far. If I get really overwhelmed, do you have any tips that will help me get centered again?
Yes, yes. A lot of students get overwhelmed because there's a lot. There's a lot. Trying to stick to your commercial bar prep schedule, trying to make sure that you're checking off all the boxes and managing your emotions, managing family and different circumstances. It is a lot. So yes, students do get overwhelmed. It's common, it's normal. One of the easiest strategies and the most effective strategies that I offer students is breathing techniques. So remembering that, not to get too much into the details, but we get into fight, flight, and freeze when we feel like we're in jeopardy, right? And in order to come back to rest and digest, which is that really calm state when you're able to get into your flow state, you have to calm your nervous system. You have to regulate your nervous system. And the fastest way to do that is through breathing. When we breathe, we can regulate our vagus nerve, which is what triggers that fight, flight, or freeze, or the rest and digest response. So to regulate yourself, breathing will be the fastest thing. So it's not just your typical like deep breathing, because a lot of times when I tell students to breathe, they tend to breathe with their shoulders up, and they think that that's deep breathing. Actually, the most effective breathing is called diaphragmatic breathing, and that's when you're breathing in with your stomach. So if you've ever seen a baby breathe, like when they're sleeping, when they breathe in, their tummies are expanding, and when they breathe out, their tummies are contracting. That's the kind of breathing that you want to do. So when you breathe in, you want to expand your stomach, and when you breathe out, you want to contract your stomach. That's diaphragmatic breathing. And just doing a series of maybe 4 of those diaphragmatic breaths, that's going to be super helpful in calming yourself down and grounding yourself. So that's honestly the easiest way, is breathing. Taking a series of like 4 deep breaths before you start your studies. And the other way, of course, is meditation. If you do meditation or mindfulness or going for a walk or even praying, just having that thing that calms you down and brings you back to your center.
I do have another question, and it's, where is a good resource to find a tutor if you're interested in using one?
Yes, a bar tutor specifically for like the substantive law, I would reach out to your law school and ask them if your law school has a bar exam resource center. A lot of law schools do. That's probably your best place to start. They're very familiar with bar tutors, specifically for the students that they've helped who have probably had some success. As far as recommendations of mine, I do like to recommend one bar prep program, which is called Celebration Bar Review. I've noticed that they have very good, very solid content, very similar to the way that I coach students. They focus on the substantive law. I focus on mindset, and I focus on, helping you show up at your cognitive best. That's my expertise. But this particular bar prep program focuses on bar tutoring for the substantive law. So that's where I would begin, your law school, and then also Celebration Bar Review. Any other questions, guys?
Abby raised her hand and had a question. I'm not sure if she's able to unmute herself. Or Josephine. I'll let Josephine go, maybe.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can, Josephine.
Okay, awesome. Well, first, thank you so much for spending the evening with us. It's been really, really helpful, and I took a lot of notes. I just wanted to share, I'm not sure if there's other retakers here, but this July will be my third time taking the bar exam. And the first time I took it, I got a 257. And I just share the score because it'll make sense a little later. But I didn't feel my most confident, but I went in knowing like, okay, I'm just gonna give it my all. And so when I found out that I didn't pass, while it was heartbreaking, I knew deep down like there was some substance in law that I still didn't understand. And
Yeah.
so the second time that I studied, I made sure to be honest about what I didn't understand and why I didn't understand it. I try to work on my mental like outlook, and I felt so much more confident with the law. I had a strategy. I was on time with my questions. And then the scores came out and I got a 252, and to be completely honest, like not passing the second time was so much harder than not passing the first time.
Yes.
So I guess if it was harder just because I felt more confident, I thought this was going to be it. So I just share that because I'm determined to take this exam, and to push forward. But I'm just wondering if you have any advice for retakers. And I got a bar tutor this time around, and I'm in the passing range, so I know that with some more specific support I could do it. But mentally, I just feel like, oh, wow, like I feel really not confident personally.
Yes, yes, Josephine, yes. My heart goes out to you, and I'm sending you so much support right now. I know I have a similar sense of what you're going through because I also did not pass the bar exam. I was a retaker myself for different reasons. So I know what it's like to have your hopes up and, expect to pass and then get those results of not passing and knowing what that's like, of just, knowing what you're going to have to go through again and what you might have to put your family through again. Like, I know, and my heart goes out to you, but I promise you, you can pass this test. It is going to take a reframe because the truth is, Josephine, repeaters, we do have a whole other layer of emotional burdens to have to kind of sort through at the beginning of our bar prep again. It's like we have to lick our wounds and then we have to get back up with this weight of knowing that we didn't pass. So it is a whole other level, but I will tell you, while that's true, yes, you didn't pass. You're in good company. So many students have not passed the bar exam on the first try or the second try or even the third try. You are in good company. The fact that you didn't pass the bar exam does not mean anything about what kind of attorney you're going to be. You will be a phenomenal attorney. Um, but it just goes to show that there are things that probably didn't work for you during bar prep. So thinking of not passing the bar exam, not identifying with that failure as you being a failure, it's rather assessing how you studied for it and how you're going to need to shift your strategy. So what I recommend, Josephine, is that you do what's called an after action review and really ask yourself, like take the time, first of all, to ask yourself, what did I do right? What worked for me? Like, what did I notice really helped me with bar prep? My strategies, my tactics, my mindset. So write down everything that worked for you. Write down everything that you're proud of. Like, are you a first generation attorney? Are you the first one in your family to even take a bar exam? Did you have other things that you were balancing while you were trying to study for the bar exam? Did you grow as a student? Did you grow as a human being? Like write down things that you're proud of for having taken the bar exam twice before. And then once you write those things down, Josephine, write down what didn't work and be honest with yourself. Like hold up a mirror to yourself, which is going to be challenging, but really ask yourself and be honest about what didn't work. What could I have done better? Like, what strategies were not working for me? What do I know that I need to do more of? What do I know that I need to do less of? And then write a plan for how you're going to address those things. I think, Josephine, I think I wrote a blog post for Miss JD on what to do if you didn't pass the bar exam. So I will try to send the link over, or I'll try to write it in the chat. If I can't, just reach out to me and I'll send you the blog post. You could also go to the Miss JD website, go on their blog section, and you'll find it there. But that's what I would recommend, is do your after action review and then work on your mindset as far as accepting that you didn't pass, embracing this growth mindset of, it taught me some lessons, some necessary lessons that I needed to learn. And now this is a brand new start. And I'm not coming at this isn't your first rodeo. You're going to come in with so much more experience. You're going to come in with confidence because you know what to expect now. And then using it as fuel for your fire. And embracing the challenge, again, is not why me, but try me, because you're completely capable, Josephine. It's just a matter of figuring out strategically what you need to shift.
Thank you.
Does that
Thank you
help?
so much. Yeah, for sure. The after action review, and I'll definitely take a look at the JD blog post you mentioned. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Josephine, and if you want to email me or reach out to me with other specific questions about being a repeater, please do. I'd be happy to help.
Thank you.
I do not see any other questions or hands raised, but I just want to give one last opportunity to do so before we end. And feel free to interrupt anyone, but I did put in the chat the next session. We did want to have a midpoint, touch point during your mid-bar prep. So that will be on June 25th. And then, there is a question. Any advice for first time takers? Any other advice for first time takers?
Yes, for first time takers, I think my best advice would be respect the bar exam because it is a beast. So again, start early and put in the time, put in the work, but also tell yourself, Sharon, that this is completely doable because you've done hard things in the past. So remembering everything that you've done to get to this point. So many first-time takers, it seems overwhelming and it seems so scary because they've never done it before. But let me remind you all of the things that you have done before, Sharon. Applying to law school, getting through law school, getting through finals, all of the things that you had to balance during law school. So of course, respecting the bar exam for what it is, and yeah, there's some uncertainty to it, and that's okay. But knowing that even though there's uncertainty as far as what to expect with the bar exam, you know yourself and you know you're completely capable. And falling back on all the other things that you've done, the things that you've achieved to get yourself this far, and using that as momentum, and again, as fuel as your fire. So just don't let it intimidate you. I hope that helps, Sharon.
I do have one more question.
Yes.
Let's see. She is able to unmute. Sharon, are you able to unmute?
I am.
Sharon.
Hi, I already started Barbary and I have already started Adopt-A-Bar luckily. And my bar survey class, which was specifically just multiple choice, we just took that final last week. And that means I got over a 61% on the multiple choice. So I think I'm on the right track, but it is kind of nerve-wracking because it is our first time.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. And that's common. I mean, so many students, most other students, if not all students, Sharon, are thinking the same thing as you're thinking right now. I want you to have, remember we talked about that vessel to get you across the river. I want you to think of what thoughts are going to help you get across that river. Instead of you thinking like, this is my first time and I don't know what to expect, or it's really overwhelming, or it's really scary, I want you to focus on why you're capable of taking this test. Sharon, do you feel comfortable right now sharing with me real quick? Like, give me one reason why you are completely capable of taking this test and passing this test the first time.
Well, Sarah, just kind of like what you mentioned previously, you said that, we applied to law school, we did our first year, our second year, and our third year. And I feel like with each final that we take, we just get stronger and stronger. And yeah, I feel like I am capable of it. It's just the getting to the time where it's like, okay, it's going to be 10 hours of studying, 12 hours of studying. And that I feel like building that momentum of having a 2 exam.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. And it is a lot, but take it one step at a time. You're building a foundation. When it comes to learning the black letter law, a lot of students sometimes will come to me with the struggle of, oh, like I'm not getting it yet, or I can't make all the connections yet. So I give them this analogy. You're trying to paint a black wall with white paint. So same thing with you. You're trying to build up your endurance. You're building a black wall with white paint. Like it's going to take layers to paint that wall. So what can you do? You start with your first layer. So you start with your first study session. You're doing the right thing, Sharon, by diving into Barbary, diving into your schedule and your preparation. Just keep on showing up every day. Come up with that commitment date and have your study schedule and your flow chart. Show up every day, even when you don't want to, especially when you don't want to. Show up. And as long as you put in those reps, remind yourself that you're going to be able to do this. But it starts slowly. Be patient with yourself. Give yourself grace. Don't expect to be able to study 10 hours a day by next week. It's not going to happen quite yet, but it will happen. Just keep putting in the reps slowly and just keep showing up.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I added you on LinkedIn as well. So I hope to connect.
Awesome. Yes,
Thank
yes.
you.
Reach out to me. Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
I do not see any more questions.
Awesome.
A lot of appreciation, though. So thank you so much, Sarah. This was unbelievable. I cannot thank you enough. And as we had advertised in the promotion of this program, thank you for the complimentary session that we're going to raffle off. It will be randomly selected, and we will notify one of the attendees from this evening. But then we will also be posting this recording on our YouTube page so that if you need reminders, just a recap again, or you would like to share with your colleagues, please do. Do you have any other comments, Sarah? Anything else we can close with?
Just letting you guys know, we at the Hispanic National Bar Association are sending you such good vibes. We want the best for you. We will be here for you next month. So just dive in, get it done. We're cheering you on, and reach out if you need anything.
Good luck, everybody. You can do this.
Yes.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye, everyone.